What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another instalment in the Talk from Dublin series. I'm your host Dan, joined here as always by Colin.
How's it going? Back again.
We're not doing a good thing today, Colin. I'm really dreading talking about this topic.
No, you're not. You're looking forward to it.
Well, I don't.
You've done your research. We just want to get it over and done with, really, don't we?
This is one of those topics where when it's eventually done, people who are listening will finally understand what our political ideology is. It's like this is where you have
because
to draw
that other
up.
podcast is never going up where we actually stated our political ideology.
It's a bit dry. But this is a very straight much like drawing lines in the sand kind of territory. And have you seen from the title, us two Europeans here, we're going to talk about American gun control.
Up of the Irish.
Oh, the up of the Irish, man. We know what's right. God, I'm telling you. Only people who need guns are farmers and their mums.
Not even farmers.
That's very,
no one needs... What?
And their mums.
Yeah, what was that? Yeah.
Hot fuzz.
Everyone and their mums, yeah.
No, it's hot fuzz. It's like, who has guns? Farmers. Who else? Farmers' mums.
Yeah, farmers' mums.
Though I've changed the quote to farmers' mass.
Mass, yeah.
Yeah, changed the Irish up. So Colin, I've got some things. I've got a quote here. No, tell me if this sounds familiar to you. All right. Quote: a well-regulated militia, being necessary for the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed.
Second Amendment.
This, people, 27 words, is the Second Amendment to the American Constitution. The root, essentially, what I think is the root of the entire American gun culture to date. Like the whole founding of why Americans have the right to bear arms. Now I know for a lot of people what I'm about to say is heavily controversial because they feel like this is like it's been handed down by their founding fathers. It's so sacred that it's nearly become religious.
And that's the problem. That's part of the problem.
Yeah. Like I'm in the firm belief that because it's like entrenched American culture around guns, it is going to be nearly impossible to actually make any change with this. No law, no regulations or anything like that. It's going to be near impossible to make any change at this current moment in American society. So I'm in the firm belief of the high suicide rate that's involved with firearms, accidental deaths, the how deadly homicides can be because of the use of firearms, mass shootings, all of this. These are all a byproduct, essentially, of the American gun culture, a cost, if you will, of the persistence of gun culture in America.
Yeah, so basically you're saying like it has to be a cultural change rather than a law change.
Yeah.
Like no kind of immediate like knee-jerk reaction sort of law change is ever going to fix the culture.
Yeah.
And really it's the culture that's the problem.
Yeah.
You have to actually change the whole culture around why guns are important and the root of why they think guns are like an integral part of their daily lives.
Yeah.
And unless you change the culture that surrounds that, you're never going to be able to just legislate for it. Like.
Yeah. Now you think, I'm just talking shite. This Irish lad telling the Americans what they can and cannot do, he probably hasn't done his work. Probably hasn't done his statistics.
He's got the research.
Statistical work. I've done some reading. I've done some work beforehand. I'll post all the source using description. Everyone can start talking. That's fake news. It's BBC. It's this and that. This is all have a gun agenda and probably just going to discredit everything.
Statistics are the new opinions, basically.
Yeah, but before we get into the whole thing, there's a few stats I found where both sides of the gun debate, conservatives and the Democrats, actually completely agree on. So you have, this is all from 2017 stats from research. So you have 89% of Americans believe that anyone that's classified as mentally ill should not be allowed to buy firearms. You have 77% of Americans wanting to see an end of the gun show loophole, though I don't think they mentioned the private arms selling for that stat. And 83% of Americans think that anyone that's on the FBI no-fly list shouldn't be allowed to buy guns, but that in itself is even flawed because a lot of advocacy groups, that word, in America feel like the FBI no-fly list, it's very biased. They target a large majority of people on this is Muslim American, so it's very prejudiced in nature.
Would it also be the fact that they don't like the way that the FBI can pick and choose who does not have access to guns, almost arbitrarily? I think is that one of the issues as well, rather than
I think it's
because
more,
it's a very small amount of Muslim Americans.
I think it's more racial profiling.
I would imagine the right would have an issue with the fact that the FBI can arbitrarily.
But they're targeting Muslims, Colin.
I know
that means it's good. That is complete sarcasm, by the way.
I think everyone got that. Don't worry. I think everyone got that.
You never know. You just never know. But these are like these three main points where both sides of the whole debate are all in agreement on. Both Democrats and Republicans are in full belief that like the mentally ill shouldn't be allowed to purchase firearms. The gun loophole from gun shows should be closed, and anyone who's on the FBI no-fly list should be also banned from weaponry. That everyone's in agreement in. Everything else though is a complete clusterfuck.
Up in the air, absolute shit show.
It all comes down to your political ideology. It all decides what you believe in, and there's a big thing when it comes to gun uses. Are they used more defensively or more using criminal acts? And it was like how lethal they are in gun use and all that. And there's a huge stat that gets thrown around in America a lot, which is 2.5 million. There's 2.5 million defensive gun uses used in the US per year, which is, you think, that's a massive number.
Ridiculous.
It must be great having weapons and protecting yourself from all that kind of stuff. But the original stat, which is from like the 1990s, I think Gertzbig, no, I didn't put down their names. I'm not even going to look it up, so it doesn't matter. But they only asked about 5,000 people and extrapolated from there. And if anyone who does statistics knows, you should never extrapolate from a very small number. The smallest percentage points off, like being off with that kind of stats, could have massive ramifications in the broader aspect of things.
Hundreds of thousands or millions. Even. Yeah. But also, like you were saying, you couldn't really find much information on what was the demographic.
There was a second. The first one I mentioned there was like one in the 90s. There was a second study done by the CDC in 2013, which confirmed this 2.5 million, but it narrowed down from narrow it down to 500,000 to 2.5 million defensive gun uses compared to 300,000 criminal gun uses. Also, a fact here to show we're trying to be unbiased here. That report wasn't covered by mainstream media. Yeah. Which is an interesting thing to say. Like, there is some flaws. Like the CDC do mention that they have very little information used beforehand because covering gun statistics in America was banned for a while. Because of course it was.
That's unbelievable though. Like, it shouldn't surprise us, but it's just ridiculous.
Oh no, I'm not surprised. I'm genuinely
not
surprised.
Though. You are a little bit surprised.
That is very American.
Lobbying.
It's American. It's very American. It's like the Irish story of like. Irish man drunk during the weekend. It's like, yes, and this is newsworthy.
Yeah,
why?
What did he do? Why he was drunk? It better be something good, or else you're wasting my time.
And you just hear that. It's like, of course it's bad.
It's still shocking though. It really is. Like the fact that you'd NRA and like gun lobbyists that literally made it illegal to actually cover studies and release statistics on this area, which is literally like. As you said, there's thousands and thousands of deaths every year related to this.
30,000.
And the fact that it was illegal to
also that stat is
study this.
Like. That stat is of like civilian deaths. It doesn't factor in police shootings
or gang violence. Or would that be included?
I think usually it is included.
Is it? Because usually I think that's separated.
The breakdown, the main focus of that isn't kind of a focus in this because it's actually a very small number in the overall, like 30,000, But even in the CDC study where they kind of confirmed that, they do mention that like because so little research has been done, the numbers are very broad. So more research really should be done in the topic before we can really give a concrete answer. But even the way the questions asked in this survey could give very misleading information. Like if you straight up ask the question, have you used a gun defensively? People could maybe like buff up the numbers, wanted to maybe sound heroic and sound like kind of macho and all. Like I used my gun. I was a proud American defending my property, defending my life.
American, defending the whole country.
Yeah, like all that. So like numbers can be inflated, but it also can go both ways. Where some may think they used their gun defensively, but in an illegal way, may not actually say that.
Like even just like open carry, they could see that as a defensive use of a gun.
Yeah.
Even though it's not literally an actual defensive
That's also meant to be, it has been confirmed, it's meant to be a factor in the rising use of defensive gun uses. Could be a correlation, this could be the increase of open carry laws being passed in multiple states. So the increase of gun ownership could be correlating the increase of defensive gun uses just to factor in. But it was one of the better studies though I found was from the National Crime Victimization Survey in America. So they asked 90,000 people instead of 5,000 people, and instead of doing a straight up question of have you used your gun defensively, they first asked the person were they a victim of a crime, and then asked what did they do in that situation if they were a victim. So it's more like they're pinpointing the answer, and they're giving full control over to the person filling out. There's no leading answer for this here. It's more like getting to see if they're a victim and asking them straight up, what did you do? Not asking, did you use a gun? Did you use this? What exactly did you do? So that alone is it gives more factual information because it's a lot more exact. It's a lot harder to kind of mislead people, or people may feel like they got to answer a particular way, something like that. Yeah. But for all these studies that was mentioned, the other bigger problem is also kind of extrapolating from small numbers. Even for 90,000, like the American population is over 300 million.
Yeah.
So
the margin of error is obviously going to be a bit lower if you have 90,000. Like 90,000 is a pretty big sample size.
But it isn't asking every gun out. It isn't like doing a broad statement. And you were saying like to get proper statistics.
It depends what areas, what demographics. Now I assume like if you're a respectable, kind of a poll, if it's a respectable poll, they're going to have a broad range of demographics and a broad range of areas. But like if you were to focus a study on say an area like Detroit or Chicago or a certain kind of a inner city area with a lot of these kind of issues, your data is going to be hugely different to say like a wealthy area in California or something like that.
Yeah.
But I would assume most of these studies would be done properly like that.
Yeah, the other kind of interesting thing from the same survey is like they've also found that when it came to home invasions, they found that whenever a gun was used to protect, whenever someone used a gun to protect their property, only 2/3 of the time that the criminal would just straight up flee the scene. So a third of the time, someone decided to fight back against the gun.
Wild West.
Yeah, and it's like there was also like more evidence shows that like a gun helped in these situations, but kind of there's a lot of more stats that kind of were showing that using just a baseball bat or even just flicking the lights on and off, but also startle people enough to scare them off.
Because I mean, you're gonna go for the easier option, aren't you? As a criminal, if someone if someone is seen to be in the house, even as you said, flicking the lights on or off, or making your presence known so they think there's someone in this house, they'll just go to a house where they think there's no one there.
Yeah.
They don't need to actually go in guns blazing.
Yeah.
So even simple little things can actually reduce the home invasion rate.
And also another big thing from the same survey was that they found for 80% of people that they mentioned, like they used a gun to protect themselves, they were the only person with a firearm in the situation.
Yeah, that's a bit...
It also goes against the whole NRA image of like the only thing that beats a bad guy with a gun is a good guy with a gun. It was like, well, actually, it's just only a good guy with the gun. There's no bad guy there.
With the gun at all. Yeah, there's no other gun at all.
So this survey concluded that there's only about like 100,000 defensive gun use in America per year.
And what were you comparing the defensive uses to again? You were saying they were trying
compared to 300,000 criminal uses.
Okay,
of
but
a fire
why would you even need to compare those two?
To show but it's essentially outweighing the positive
almost like
of
a
the
false
negative.
equivalence, though.
Well, but this is what the Republicans do. They show like the positive is worth the negative. That if you have 300,000 criminal uses, but if there's 2.5 million defensive uses, well, that's making the assumption that if they didn't have their gun, they would have been like victims of a crime. They would have suffered because they didn't have that firearm. They would have been a victim of mugging or burglary.
But the two
or
are not
like
mutually exclusive.
No, they actually aren't.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. They have to be looked at as separate issues as well. It's not a complete
The Republicans want to give the image of, since there's so much defensive use, this is so many people that are able to protect themselves compared to the amount of people that inflicted harm because they had access to a firearm in the first place.
Yeah, but what if the defensive uses of guns and having guns as a whole, if you could reduce the amount of harmful incidents, it might also reduce the amount of incidents where defensive uses are needed. Yeah. As well. It's a bit sort of disingenuous to try and equate those two.
Another great stat with the whole argument are going like guns don't kill people.
Oh,
people kill people. Yeah, we have a definitive study that proves guns kill people.
Well, we all knew that.
Also, the sky is blue and it's going to rain tomorrow in Ireland. More at 11.
Yeah.
This isn't more of like any gun. It's like there was I can't remember the story. I should be able to find this but it's actually not. Yeah, it should be down there. But you had an organisation comparing kind of the caliber of weapons on like crimes and for like kind of like for homicides and all that, and they came to the conclusion that like reduce the caliber down. Say if like reduce from like kind of maybe a rifle down to a handgun. that was used more in most crimes, you reduced the death and homicides by 2.5.
What a surprise!
Yeah, like
Shocking.
all that. Oh, yeah,
but yeah, no, I mean it makes sense, obviously.
Yeah, of course. If you put smaller holes in people, they're not going to die as quick.
Yeah, or at least not as many will die if it's a bit harder to kill people.
Big tangent here. For like Black 47.
Yeah.
It was so weird how people could just completely tank a shot from a musket and be fine.
Yeah.
That actually like amazed me. A lot of the time.
Or multiple shots even.
And even like when you had like some people that did die, it took them a long time to even die from the start.
Yeah.
It also like felt seeing we had like the British guy like holding up one of the soldiers, like he finally snapped, going like, gotta feed those people, man.
He's psychologically the Barry Keoghan,
Irish
Barry
actor,
Keoghan, but he was playing a British soldier. But it was crazy.
He took a shot to the side, then killed the guy who put the gun, and then 6 more shots. Like the whole sound effect around that felt like it felt so much more deadly, by using the sound effects.
Everyone in the cinema was kind of a bit shocked.
Like the whole the impact falling on it, that's just feels more deadly than actual gun.
Then what? Yeah.
No, like that scene just felt like so much more like it gave the image of being hit by a musket was much more deadly being hit by a 9mm.
Yeah.
Or even like confronting someone with a musket is more terrible. Don't like,
obviously if I were to fucking huge long musket.
Imagine this if you were in America and like getting it, like what would be more terrifying?
Musket warfare.
Being mugged by someone with a 9mm or being mugged by someone with a musket.
Yeah, you just whip out your musket. It's like, give me right. Okay, I can't even.
That has like. Do you remember Lincoln, the film with Daniel Day-Lewis?
Yeah, I never saw it though.
One of my favorite like comedic scenes in all the cinema is essentially have like one of these guys trying to get one of the Democrats to vote Republican to like ban slavery, but he had no intention, so he planned to actually assassinate one of the guys that was helping Lincoln.
Yeah.
So he missed a shot initially with his pistol, so the guy decided to run off. But he forgot documents, he had to run back and get them. And while he's doing this Democrat was firmly stands, like, very angry, fast as he could, reloading his pistol, like, literally running away, running back, like, staring at him. Arm yourself, grab him, and then running away and taking the other shot out. Like, that's just fucking hilarious.
Yeah.
Wouldn't it be kind of the whole, like, defense of criminal use of, like, firearms is a big debate, and, like, one of the crux of kind of like the whole, say, gun debate in America, going like, does the positive outweigh the negative? This is ultimately like the end discussion when it comes to this, when using statistics and everything like that for the gun debate, is to definitively prove the positives outweigh the negatives when it comes to firearms. And a massive negative for firearms in America is suicide rates. Like, there's about, I think on average, it's meant to be 30,000 civilian deaths in America each year. Like that doesn't include police police shootings.
Yeah.
And 18,000 of them are suicides, which is
that's a lot. Yeah.
It is a massive number, which is like, it's very disingenuous when it comes like for us in Ireland, the only time you ever hear the gun debate in America is whenever a mass shooting goes on, which is an incredibly small percentage of the overall thing.
Yeah, we don't hear about the everyday sort of incidents
which
much at all.
Which is actually really unfortunate, because people do make like any of these mass shootings that happen in America is a big deal, but in the grand scheme of things, it's actually very that isn't the main problem with it.
Yeah,
it's probably
it's just more shocking and unexpected.
Yeah, well, it's also so massive. Like, you feel like, I think the worst you have I think it was the Las Vegas one with 54 people being killed. And you hear those kind of numbers, that's going to grab international attention. But
yeah, the fact that it's so kind of unexpected and shocking as well, is that what you'd expect to be a kind of a safe, just regular everyday event that happened in Vegas to turn into something like that is just shocking.
Yeah.
Whereas we're kind of, you hear about suicide a lot, and it's kind of it's kind of been, we've been desensitized a bit. Really,
well, it's more like, I don't think it's just not reported. It never gets that far. But it's that also like the stigmatization of mental health. Like, that's still a huge problem in all of Western society. But for suicide rates, like, I say a big argument from the right wing, of pro-gun argument, going like, if people want to commit suicide, they're going to do it no matter what. It doesn't matter if you ban the gun. Once you get into that mindset, they're going to take their own life. But all the studies done, all the stats we got, just doesn't support that point at all. Does it?
Well, I mean, logically, it just doesn't make sense.
Like, when it comes to suicide prevention, one of the biggest aspects to stop suicide is time. The more time you have, to think over this act, that it completely lowers your chance of ever going through with it, which is great. And there's a big thing for...
Well, a high amount even is when people are not in their regular state of mind.
Yeah.
Either alcohol, drugs, maybe in a kind of having like a really, really, really bad day, and kind of if you've a gun like sitting right beside you, and you can impulsively do something so quick and easy, obviously that's going to be more prevalent than if you have to use a different means of doing it, which is a lot more. It's more time to think about it, more time
take as long,
more difficult, more sort of not as instantaneous, more things that could go wrong. Like obviously you'll see lower rates when it's a lot harder to do it.
Yeah, like so, like for suicide prevention, this is called means restriction. It's where this is when like a country either outright bans or restricts a popular method of committing suicide in their country. Actually, I shouldn't even use the word committed anymore.
Really?
Yeah, for media, we're actually told that like by using the term committed, since it's so
it's seen as a crime.
Yeah, since it's so heavily used when it comes to criminal investigations, it feels like it makes it sound like the person's committed a crime.
Well, sure. In Catholic Ireland, it was a sin. So you know, back to the days of Catholic Ireland. But no, but
it's more like you need to use like kind of non. Again, the type of language you use is very important. Like even performed, or even like I've even heard people just straight up use the term of like
taking their own life.
I don't just use suicide on its own. Like you have like 18,000 people suicided. Like,
oh really? As a verb, like
which is like
or taking their own life as a common word.
That's
a kind of a gentler way of putting it.
Yeah. But it's also when you hear that like in that kind of context, you hear like it sounds like someone who's just thrown over the edge and just they feel like they had nowhere else to go from that stage. Again, for like means restriction, so like restriction and banning of popular ways of taking their own life. So one of the stats we have here is actually from Sri Lanka, where there was a particular pesticide used in suicides in the country. So they banned that, and over 10 years, they saw their suicide rate drop by 50%.
That's a lot.
Now, there was a tiny increase in hangings in that time, but that is dwarfed by the whole decrease in the suicide rate in the whole country. You saw the same in Australia as well when they had the banning of automatic and semi-automatic rifles. Their suicide dropped tremendously in the country as well. So we have the numbers to back this up. We know that if you restrict or ban a popular method of someone taking their own life, you're going to see a complete drop in the suicide rates. It confirms the whole time is your ally in these kind of situations. The more time you have to think this through.
Like it's basically confirming like certain people will do it anyway, regardless, but not all of them.
That is a very rare case. Unfortunately, if someone's just pushed too far, there's no way.
There will be people who will do it anyway, but if you restrict the means to do it, you will see an actual drop in how many times it's happened.
Even like for all the with all these stats, there's also a lot to call into question, like the current way America does gun control in their country, with the whole kind of like simple enough background check. Fill out a couple of forms and able to figure out if you're able to have a weapon or not, or make sure you're not on like any particular list. And but even then, that doesn't work like all the time. When even the lists and like kind of like their no buy list. Because I think for one of the recent shootings for this year, the guy that was able to. I can't remember which one.
Got them all legally.
Yeah, but he was meant to be on the no buy list. Yeah, but he was never. The system was never updated. Yeah. It's also very depressing that there's been so many. I don't know which one it is. That's also kind of like the depressing aspect of that. But another aspect, kind of gun control, which I feel like the right will never allow, is kind of like essentially using gun registration as if it's a car. So you have in Japan and Australia, they do like these very tightly regulated gun registration. So if you buy a gun, like the government knows you own that. So they have a database and your name is attached to that gun, and it is the owner's responsibility to let the government know if they either sell that on to a new person or if their firearm ever gets lost, and they can be prosecuted if they don't fill in the government with that type of information.
The responsibility is 100% on the owner.
But because in the American system, like I know for one of the Gimlet media stuff and kind of science versus firearms, they were interviewed a few kind of FBI guys, and because they don't have this rigid system in place for tracking gun ownership, it's so easy to essentially get away with
how freely they flow as well.
So they were saying like a common excuse used is essentially going like, oh, I just lost it. Like I think one of the examples that they use in the kind of like audio documentary was like the FBI, they found like a firearm used in a particular crime, and they were able to trace it back to a person. And it kind of knocks on the door going like, oh, you're so-and-so, so have you bought like the X weapon, like this weapon? It's like, yes. Oh, yes, I did. It's like, can you show us? Up to the attic, the up going like, oh, it should be in here, it's not there. It's like, where's your gun? It's like, oh yeah, I lost it, I reported it like ages back. And going like, but because they can't really prove, like, because like there's no like proper registration. It's like, well, that's
it's just too easy to be able to use that as a cop-out excuse. Yeah.
A big problem meant to be in America is kind of straw manning when it comes to gun ownership, where you say you have kind of someone who can legally buy a gun and essentially just give it to someone else. That could maybe either that could be underage or can't because they're on the no buy list, and because it's so easy to get away with it, all they have to ever say is like, oh, I lost it, and that's it. That's the end of that. Like it is illegal to do these straw man buys, but because it's so hard to prove they have ever happened, the law might as well not even be there.
Yeah,
that kind of like gun registration will put the entire ownership in the person. So they've seen like about in Japan and Australia, there's meant to be like very low kind of gun deaths in those countries.
Japan is absolutely insanely low.
Yeah,
like
and they
unbelievably low.
Yeah, the rates are like incredibly
Tiny,
small.
yeah.
And they have a very regimental kind of gun registration.
Also cultural.
Yeah,
which
also
we'll
cultural.
Yeah. But yeah.
But like if that was implemented in America, like if the responsibility was perfectly on like on the person, not where it's thrown up the air and anyone can use it, then you have people actually giving a crap about their guns, actually putting the proper safety, making sure they're in the proper locations, and also.
But that's the thing as well. A lot of people don't do that. A lot of people are just normal, no mental health issues, no nothing, legal able to buy guns, leave them lying around, improper safety, and then their kid. There's so many incidences of kids just picking up guns and either shooting their siblings or themselves just because the parents have improperly kept their legally acquired guns.
Yeah, I always keep forgetting that guns are illegal to buy in Ireland.
You keep forgetting that.
No, but it's okay.
Wait,
we're about to get into the cultural aspect, because I know like for like the gun registration in Australia, you need a reason to own a gun for defensive purposes. That is not a reason.
Yeah,
which is interesting.
It's interesting, yeah.
The main crux is how arguing. These are all stats we're throwing at you, like numbers and like links. I'm going to be posting in the description for people to follow up, scrutinize the source, and do whatever they want, and saying like left wing biased, right wing biased, like all that kind of stuff.
Everything is biased.
Everything is subjective, and only my perception of reality is true. So if I believe these are untrue,
don't perpetuate that shite. Just don't even go there. Not even in a joking way.
But it's
too real.
The big problem we have here, like kind of from the European perspective, looking at the American gun debate, it's the culture. It's the massive cultural divide between America and Western Europe, and like America and the West. Like from listening from like the whole Gimlet media stuff and like the science versus stuff, they try to, from like the whole thing, they want to do it from a purely scientific perspective, checking the stats, checking the research, and if they can definitively like give answers to some of these questions. But even for that, the one thing they could never escape is culture. So during the whole thing, they interviewed people from Australia and from Britain, and one of the guys they interviewed from Britain say like it's such a big cultural difference between America and Great Britain, where in the UK you don't have this feeling going like the police aren't going to protect me, my government isn't here to help me, the only person who can ever keep me safe is myself, so I need to be able to protect myself in any way possible.
Yeah,
like
we've a bit more trust in our societal structures.
We believe that like the institutions set up to protect us will protect us,
and I think that even goes back to a more deep-rooted issue. It's like America, in essence, is a bit more libertarian. Yeah, they're very individual focused. Yeah, there's a lot of skepticism about institutions, governments, police force. Like there's a lot of skepticism there, and they tend to be very sort of individually focused. How can I protect myself, my land, my property? Like
there's always big debates of big government, small government. The fact that like states nearly function as individual countries when it comes to making their own laws, even like shows that as well. Like the states are independent from the overall government themselves. And even like from their constitution, like how their nation is founded, like the entire nation was founded because they felt like they had an overreaching government, i.e. England, that had no concerns in their affairs. So they believed, well, we need proper representation, like the whole no taxation representation, like phrases, and like essentially armed rebellion. Like the only people that have America's interest is the Americans, not the English.
Well, why don't we have a gun culture at the moment?
No,
it's an honest question.
But... Yeah, but I think like it's found in their constitution. The fact that the founding fathers of America believed that we needed an armed militia to protect, to essentially allow the individuals to protect themselves from an overreaching institution. It's founded in the American states.
And well, the problem is they're so idolized. They're almost religious figures. It's like BioShock Infinite.
Yeah.
They're seen almost as like these religious founding father, like godlike figures.
Yeah.
It's like you need
that essentially can do no wrong.
And it's like the Constitution was written a few hundred years ago. I mean, it's obvious that it's not going to be reflective of today's society. There can be definitely parts of it that can fit with the way society operates today.
Yeah.
But you should never just cite a 300-year-old document as a reason to kind of base your very culture, when like slavery in America back a few hundred years ago, that would be seen as something that could never be changed.
Yeah, something that was perfectly fine.
That was the fabric of their society. Yeah. It was integral to how they operate.
The way of treating of like the LGBT people in America, and like this also goes for any society.
And culture can be like the only way I believe to actually tackle the gun problem is culturally. Obviously you can bring in some immediate legislation to kind of try and help the problem, but it's never going to be fixed until there's a cultural shift. And that's going to take a lot of time.
But it's so deep rooted in American identity. Like it's part of the American. Like for a lot of people,
so was slavery.
It is a massive aspect.
And it took a very long time to actually. And you see, the problem is that's a bit of a. It's a bit more obvious to be like, okay, slavery is clearly wrong. Whereas the gun debate is more grey. Yeah, it's much more of a grey area than a black and white.
For a lot of people in America, it's what they feel like what makes them American.
Yeah,
like
it's part of their identity.
That amendment to the Constitution, their ability to own guns, is an American as the flag and apple pie and all that, like
the eagle,
nonsense.
the bald eagle flying around the place.
It's not actually bald as well.
Yeah,
they call it bald eagle. It's not actually bald. It's also so hard for us in Europe to actually just see, like we like every time these reports of mass shootings and the whole gun debate that erupts from America, we see we're always baffled when we see it happen, and we feel like
it's alien to us.
Yeah, we also feel like it's so simple. Like as I mentioned just beforehand, I keep forgetting like certain firearms are legal in Ireland. Like you can actually own guns in this country.
It's just so unbelievable. We just we don't feel like we need them for anything. At all.
Like this is how like little guns are ever seen in this country. This week on Monday was the first time I've ever seen a guard open carry a pistol.
I've never seen that in my
and,
life.
This one, like,
ever.
This is like plain cold guard, like Gardaí, and I could see the strap for like.
Was it in town?
Yeah,
yeah.
That's the first time I've ever seen like an open carry guard. But even then, like. He had Garda in bold writing on his jacket, and like the emblem on his front. And this is a plain clothes guard, and for the guards for Ireland, they are specifically marked if they're armed guards. So you'll see the phrase armed guard on them, and also on armed response units. So we know which ones are armed and which ones are unarmed.
But again, it's just so rare that you'd even see it.
It's so baffling seeing the guy, like even like just seeing like this just at the Starbucks, and he was like probably like. Yeah, like, it was on duty, just getting a cup of coffee. But even just seeing him like armed, there, it's like there must be a problem there.
Yeah, no,
like,
everyone
must be
like,
serious.
Holy shit! Like, actually seeing a gun on a policeman in Ireland is actually baffling, and that just goes to show how incredibly different the culture is. Which is gonna take years to change, if ever.
I don't think so. I mean, that's the thing. Like, it's more like this is
there's
so
a lot of people
entrenched.
I get
in
that,
American
but people
identity.
think that about everything until we actually go and change something. It happens all the time. You have people who will deny that we're ever going to be able to change anything until we go and do it, and it takes a lot of time. But I don't think we can just like brush it off immediately and say this is just here to stay for eternity.
See, I honestly think like the ownership of American, that is so integral to American culture. I say the Irish language and the GAA is for Irish culture.
Culture adapts all the time.
I know, but
all the time.
But think of it like imagine Irish culture where we don't recognise the Irish language.
That might happen. But that honestly might happen.
But that shouldn't be Irish culture.
Fair enough, but that might happen. Aspect. Like we might have an Ireland a few hundred years from now where the Irish language is kind of studied as like an ancient language. Yeah. I mean, I'm
like in the firm belief, like in the current American system, it's just so integral. Like we're not.
I agree. Yeah,
it's not. This isn't decades we're talking about. This could be centuries.
Yeah, and the bit I was saying about how culture can change eventually over time, but the problem I see with that, even with my own argument, is the fact that we've had so many horrible mass shootings again and again and again.
Yeah.
and it has done nothing. It has done absolutely nothing for the.
Well, Britain and Australia is a great counterpoints, right? In Australia, think like you had a massive mass shooting in Australia where like you had 30-some people killed, and he straight up banned semi-automatic and automatic rifles and pistols there over there. And in Britain, when they had a bad mass shooting, they put a ban on handguns. And like there was no question, felt like it was immediate reaction.
Those events were outliers, though, weren't they? Because it wasn't.
But that was the first time that ever happened, and so they put the ban and feel like we've gone too far.
But that's what I'm saying. The fact that it's happened again and again.
Sandy Hook was the first one, right? The first big one.
I suppose, the first
like,
one. Yeah.
It's pretty much like if America was willing to not do anything after Sandy Hook, then it doesn't matter how many more it's going to be.
You could even say one outlier. The fact that there's been again and again and again and again and again, and we always have this debate after one of them happens, but nothing gets done about it.
It's more like it's more to show like the American coach tonight. It took only one mass shooting about Australia to Britain to do something. For America, they're probably in the hundreds, like dozens, maybe in the hundreds, still not doing anything.
And I think it's so simple. It's like in Australia, mass shooting. This is absolutely horrible. Do we need guns? No. Do they cause horrible mass shootings? Yes, therefore ban them. Whereas in America, it's like horrible mass shooting. Do we need our guns? Yes. Therefore, the mass shootings are going to happen. There's nothing we can do about it. We need our guns. That's the cultural thing. They feel like they need their guns as an integral part of their everyday lives. And like other countries
like
don't
from the giving the media thing, when you were interviews on one of these kind of pro-gun advocates there, they were giving like this hypothetical scenario, say like the perfect scientific study was made that definitively proven taking away guns from American society would say decrease like suicide rates, decrease homicides, do all this for America. Essentially, there will only ever be positives, no negatives from taking guns away. The guy you were talking to was still adamant on not giving up his guns. Yeah. Because the whole argument going, well, my guns aren't doing anything wrong. I'm a responsible gun owner. And like that makes a lot of sense. Like if you are a responsible gun owner in America, like you do the right thing, you know your weapons aren't doing anything harm, you are going to feel attacked when you feel like, why do you want to take my guns away? I'm not the one shooting up the place. No one is using my guns to commit suicide.
They don't see guns as weapons.
They see them as tools,
as toys or tools. That's what it is. They don't actually see it as a weapon.
Like
to them, it's not something that can be used to kill people. It's for their enjoyment.
I posed you the question. It's like a few weeks ago. Like, what does a gun symbolize for you? Essentially, like the whole symbolism. So, like when you picture a firearm, what does that bring to mind to you? Do you ever actually? I don't think you ever got an answer for you.
No, not really, because I was telling you how about symbolism is a load of shit.
Yeah,
but I get your question. I suppose it would only ever, in my mind, immediately, if I think guns, be seen in a negative light.
Yeah,
it would. Whereas if you asked maybe a kind of your average kind of Southwestern American or whatever.
Hey, don't be stereotyping.
What's the Bible Belt where they,
no stereotyping in this bloody podcast.
How much we've already
no stereotype. The only people we stereotype is the British because they want our land.
Yeah, okay.
They want to take back the island.
Okay, well I feel like if you
ask,
we
filled our quota.
If I say an average American, then that's hotly up for debate because is the average American a gun owner? What percentage of the population is a gun owner in America? Do you know that?
I don't know actually.
I see that. That's why I didn't want to say the. There's certain areas where.
Do you want to hear stats about? Do you want to hear stats about guns? For every 100 people in America, 92 firearms.
Okay, all right.
But that also factors in the military.
Yeah, and that would also be people with multiple firearms.
Yeah,
that's not. Yeah,
but
so that's why I didn't want to say the average American. Let's just go.
For particular Americans.
Let's say if I asked a pro-gun American, their first thought would probably be
freedom.
Recreational, like shooting
practice,
it's
like
shooting practice in the backyard.
Integral American, positive contributes. To it.
But then you've some people who still sell themselves the lie that it's in case there's a government overthrow, an attack on the people of the government.
Which, if
the American government rises up to enslave every American, what the fuck is that scenario?
That mentality.
It's
but that lunacy. But that scenario thinks that the general public can actually fight back. They can't.
Bollocks, yeah.
And it also thinks that every single US army personnel will follow direct orders and not go against the government if that order was ever given.
In a million years would a government ever try to overthrow and enslave its people? Modern day America. Yeah. It's not going to happen. Even if there was a revolution, right? What's the first thing they'll do? They'll cut off communications.
Yeah.
Immediately. No internet communications, no cell phone communications. If you break down that communication barrier where they can't actually form a coherent uprising, it's not going to be the Wild West where you just have everyone fecking shooting down soldiers in like outside their front garden. Like it's
it's
just
not. It won't
that
be.
scenario is just lunacy. It's pure lunacy.
Yeah.
And I feel like people still use that as a way to justify. Because some people are happy with saying, I just want my guns. End of story. I just want my guns. Whereas some people still try and justify their need for guns by saying that what if the government tries to...
they're preparing for this.
They're not preparing for it, though. They're using that as an excuse.
I know, but
they're genuinely not.
But again, that's so alien to us.
Yeah.
Like, imagine living in a nation when you're in a firm belief that you have no trust in the governmental body.
You have to stop right there and go, there's something fucking terribly, terribly wrong with our society.
Yeah.
If you're at the point where you genuinely think you need guns in case your fucking government tries to overthrow and enslave your people... Yeah. That's the point where you're like, hold on, lads. There's something really, really wrong here.
Like, if that is common knowledge, either... the way your nation was founded was heavily flawed.
Yeah.
Or you're a colonized nation and demanding independence.
Yeah, like...
But it's like that. Those are the only times you can ever think like that's ever been factual. Like it's the only scenarios I think it's right. Either like the way the government was founded was flawed from the start, and so this mentality of like the government's uses and it's always going to be against me, going like that's not a government then. It's not.
Yeah.
It's not designed. Like you didn't design it right then. If you're firmly believed that that's like the cultural belief for a large proportion of your people that it will only ever do harm. The only two scenarios where like that's actually factually right if you live in a dictatorship.
Yeah.
Or if you live under colonial power.
Exactly.
In which case, the government doesn't care about you, and that's actually a legitimate reason.
If you're in a modern democracy, even though democracy is not perfect, there's no perfect
it's
democracy.
the best worst system we
exactly.
have.
Nobody, like, in theory, whatever, if it worked
I
ideally,
take that
but
back.
it never
social democracy.
There you go.
That's the best worst system we ever have.
I'm glad you didn't say democratic socialism. You got the right one. You got the right one. Yeah, but even if you have the system of democracy they have at the moment in America, if they maintain that system, you're never going to have a scenario where there's a government overhaul of the American people where they're enslaved and they need their firearms to create a kind of a citizens militia to fight back.
Yeah, but also like the whole point, like the U.S. President, the Senate, and Congress is to put checks and balances. It's so no one body ever becomes too powerful. The only reason that would ever fail is that all three bodies become the same, literally the same ideology, and literally like change the structure. They actually take all the power, which a lot of people believe is what is happening now with Trump, since the Republicans have full control of the Senate and Congress, and you have the man.
They've all been voted for by the people, so they can only blame themselves.
Not Trump though. He didn't get majority.
He got through in the electoral
which is a bullshit system.
Yeah, well, I mean, then they need to... The problem is I keep calling it the electrical system.
No, electoral Congress.
It's the electoral system, yeah. The problem is, right...
Again.
Electoral. The electoral
system.
system.
It sounds like electrical.
I know.
But
wait, I gotta say something.
Fine, go.
The Oh, fucking hell.
Electoral...
The electoral system.
Yeah.
There you go. I know what it is. I just keep...
That's like a minute of us trying to pronounce
the
word.
Electoral system. The problem is every president gets in because of the electoral system.
Yeah.
Therefore, there's never going to be an actual political will to change the system.
Yeah.
Because the system elects the government, the president. Therefore, Trump only got in because of that system. Therefore, he's never in a million years going to advocate for the change.
No, but he even said that, and he said it perfectly. Where like, if he win, like he even said, like if I win this, what's the point of changing? If I lose, oh man, I am against it. 4 U.S. presidents have been elected without getting a popular vote because of that system. And imagine that. What is meant to be your head of state does not have the full backing of the population. Yeah. That is undemocratic.
Yeah, and it's meant to be representative, but you should be represented each person equally. Yeah. Not based on where they live or where they're from.
We should have our voting system.
our voting system is.
Oh no, it's
actually not bad.
No, it is seen as the most best representative way of democracy because you do the whole. I know that's very kind of like patting yourself on the back.
Great,
no, but the UK implemented it here in Ireland to essentially stop the nationalists getting a majority at any time because it had to have proportional representation. Like, okay, we're in tangent now. Fuck, I'm going to fold.
Go for
full
it.
explanation here. So for people who don't know how the Irish voting system works, is that there's a threshold set for whenever we have to vote in something like new TDs and whatnot. So you actually get to vote, put your preferences on the ballot sheet. You have like a 1 preference, 2 preference, 3 preference, and all that. So they do kind of a system. So say you have 10 people going for 3 positions. So they do initial counting, and so they set a limit, and if anyone doesn't reach that limit, they're dropped from the counting. They take all the people who voted for him, look at their second preference, and then throw it back on. Then they do a new number, cut off whoever's below that number, take all the votes who voted for those people, check their next preference, now at the third one, and then throw them back in, and keep doing that until you hit three in this scenario, 3 voted TDs.
Yeah.
There's also a cap number, so if you have someone who say passes the majority, where it's literally they will get their seat no matter what,
they have to decide where the remaining votes go.
They take every vote that goes over like this max number, check their second preference, and then throw that back into the system. It's proportional democracy. Is essentially it makes sure like no matter what, your viewpoint will be represented.
But we also have highly strict lobbying laws and highly strict laws on campaign funding.
Yeah,
we have really low amounts that can actually be spent on campaigning to be elected.
Yeah,
which is it's a great thing, and we've really strict lobbying. So it's like it eliminates a lot of the sort of the big business influence on the government, which is another huge problem in America. Like back to what we were saying, like in America, big business is nearly more trusted by a lot of people than the government. That's another problem.
It's also more powerful than government.
Yeah, well, because they can lobby the government. Like big business can actually, in effect, make their own laws if they can lobby hard enough for it.
Well,
it's mad.
It's this all kind of correlation, causation. Bring back into the gun debate here, like for like the NRA, their donations towards campaigning has increased tremendously in recent years. I also kind of interesting stat I found that it examined 18 to 29 year olds in America on their view of gun control. So if this goes from 2000 to 2010, I think. But essentially you had, in 2000, you had 75% people for gun control, 25% against gun control. When you hit 2010, it was about 55% for gun control, 45% against gun control.
Why did they do 18 to 29? It's a bit of a tangent.
The young demographic.
Why 29? It's always 18 to 24 at the most.
Might have been that.
Did they? Oh, okay, fair enough. I was more thinking
know.
Maybe they chose the demographic specifically to include those extra few years to make it look like a more young skewing vote, even though it went all the way up to 29.
But in the first year it was recorded, and if it was 18 to 29,
you're talking
it was still a massive
anyway,
divide.
So
and as time went on, it's the young population become more conservative when it comes to gun ownership, and you see massive spikes when there's been ever a bad mass shooting and it talks of gun control in the country. So we're not seeing, like for the young demographic, we're actually not seeing a change in culture where they want more gun control, they actually want less gun control. This is essentially where we are with the gun debate. Well, actually not where we are, because we're not affected by it.
Yeah, we're grand.
This is where
Luckily,
America is, where they're at a brick wall. And like if their politicians really wanted to do anything about it, compromise would be done by this stage, but they don't. The Republicans want to do it their way, and the Democrats want to do it their way.
There's even divisions within the bipartisan system.
But they also have no intention of cooperating with the other side. Like if they truly wanted to help the general population of America with this gun problem, they'd actually talk to each other. They'd actually find the middle ground and actually.
But this is the problem. There is no middle ground. Because it's ideological.
Yeah.
It's not even based on. That's why it's so difficult. It's like you can't really reach a middle ground because they're fundamentally different.
Yeah.
It's like it goes into the core fundamentals of what they identify as an American, of what a gun is. Is a gun used to kill people or to injure people, or is a gun used as a recreational sort of hobby or whatever? Like that, it's a fundamental divide that I don't see ever being. Like I was saying, unless there's some sort of big cultural change, but that could take hundreds of years, because every time we see a mass shooting, you think, okay, now they're gonna now they're going to finally
it's
realise, but it just never
enough.
happens. Yeah.
And like for a lot of people though, when you ask some like kind of right wingers, like this is more an extreme end, kind of say, well, when you're willing to give up your weapons, like how many kids have to die for you to give up your weapons? Some response like all of them.
Yeah,
like going like
it's a bit of a,
like, they go extreme. They also do perfect whataboutism when it comes to that because they deflect and go to Europe, going like, "Why are you criticising us? Look at Europe.
There's vans.
Look at these terrorists. They're explosives. The vans. They're just going to use something different. We take away our guns, man. It doesn't matter. And all that kind of nonsense. Like I've seen like a legitimate Facebook comment, which I thought was just insane. Was making say like, "Oh, if you take away our guns, they're just going to start making bombs."
Yeah, the bombs are easier.
Yeah, making the
like,
point
no,
okay. In society where both are available, it is easier to shoot a gun than to make a bomb. If you do make guns like completely banned, then obviously the one option is the bomb. So technically, by not giving yourself the option, the only option is technically the easy option.
But it goes back to the suicide thing.
Yeah.
It's like you saw the increase in hangings, but the overall suicide rates fell. So of course you'll see a certain amount of people that will definitely move to, say, stabbings, to other things. Yeah. But it's not going to be as effective and as frequent at killing people as the system is. And
like the also big problem,
it's too easy now.
Like this also whataboutism also kicks whenever there's a mass shooting, and they're equating like they want to equate essentially like the terrorist acts performed by ISIS in Paris to like to mass shootings in America. They're two completely different
the mass
things.
shootings are done by American
these
citizens.
are like they're American nationals who literally every time we don't fully know what happened to them because not enough research is ever done. We know I think for like 70-80% of the time there was like no mental illness to show before these mass shootings. It's essentially, unfortunately, they hit a breaking point out of nowhere and decide to lash out violently. So these are normal Americans lashing out in horrible ways, where in Europe we're having a terrorist organisation brutally killing innocent people because they in the full belief that Europe must burn to the ground.
Yeah.
You can't equate the two.
Yeah.
There's no way to compare them. I was like, I'm sorry, I'm misrepresenting the American gun debate. When they're white, they're lone wolves. When they're a minority, they're part of terrorism.
Yeah. It's mental illness when they're white, and when they're not white, it's terrorism.
Yeah, it's like it's gonna like get the illegals out, but when it's white, they're going, we need to take our time. It's like, no, fuck you. If you wanted like just change this rapidly,
it definitely is a mental health problem, and it's a cultural problem.
It's a lot,
and it's a difficult problem.
Like I know we try to pose like, oh, this is our mental solution. It's like this is how we think the education system should be changed, and all this. We don't have an answer.
No, I mean, I don't think anyone really can actually...
to truly fight this whole kind of gun problem in America, you need to fundamentally change American culture.
Yeah.
And currently is, if you try to change that fundamentally, or even try to implement like some of the strictest gun control laws, that is a fast-track way of creating a second civil war.
Yeah.
Because
and then they will need their guns.
I've seen from like interviews before and from like different news out and all of that, like they have found Americans where they're being genuinely serious, they will fight the American government to try to take their guns away. They would start shootouts and shoot.
Yeah, I think people would be absolutely furious.
Yeah, in the current American culture, I'd say there's millions of Americans who would gladly make their final stand if the government tried to take their weapons away.
Yeah, that's never happening.
No, it can't.
Well, not now.
But if they put in, say, a registration law like in Australia and Japan literally tomorrow, that will create a civil war. You would have a massive cultural divide.
I don't think a registration would. But that's not even going to fix the problem because of the current supply at the moment. That's the problem. That's the problem. There's so many guns already in the current supply.
Yeah.
And you're not going to be able to take away the current supply. So even restrict it's just very difficult.
Yeah. Well, this is another depressing topic from us here from a talk from Dublin. From us two here, we're all happiness aside, man.
We're not this depressing off mic, to be honest. But,
no.
Yeah.
Well, we like joking. We just like joking, messing around, throwing around the IRA jokes, man.
Yeah. The Rammies.
Jeez.
So once again, I feel like we end this all the time. It's like we don't have the answer, but it's still interesting to talk about.
It's
important to talk about, even if we can't.
It's also
give a
just
concrete solution.
It's just so sad as well. Like just looking at this, because a lot of people die because of this at the end of the year. Like these mass shootings, suicide rates. So you're going we have enough stats actually throw this going we have enough information to know like if we do certain things we can reduce like the death rate here when it comes to firearms. Like every day we delay this, people are going to keep dying. And unfortunately, like, a lot of lives are going to be cut short because of this whole gun debate. And unfortunately, there really is nothing we can do at the moment. And some people may think this, like, it's a price worth paying. It's the current consequence, and more like there's actually no problem is at the moment. But unfortunately, when you look back in the grand scheme of things, innocent people are continuously going to die. Lives are going to be cut short because there's accidental deaths are always going to happen. Mass shootings are going to continuously happen in America, and this suicide rate is probably not going to drop anytime soon. Well, essentially because of the whole gun culture. I'm like, it's really depressing and just really sad looking at that.
It is when you really think about it.
It's very hard. I don't know, not very hard. It's also very easy to attack the other side so easily.
Yeah.
And it's very easy just to lose empathy at the end when it comes to all this. At the end of the day, you have like kind of both sides trying to, well, hopefully they're trying to form legislation that protects the American citizens the most. Because I like to believe we don't lack emotion. We actually do care when innocent people die for no particular reason.
Yeah, I don't know. It doesn't seem like it at the moment, but
it doesn't.
No,
like,
it is depressing, but I don't know. We're just gonna have to hope there's gonna be some sort of cultural change. Like, I mean, I can't see where it's gonna come from because, as we said,
Trump
there's
2020.
Oh, Jesus Christ! Bernie Sanders.
Oh man,
feel the burn.
Oh yeah, he'd do it. I also pounded the wrong side of my chest. That's where the heart is. So
yeah. Anyway, but yeah,
I think we'll end it up. We'll Sorry for making everyone sad. If you're angry, sorry.
You probably should be angry though, really. But...
Well, it depends. If they're angry at us, we don't know what to talk about. Going like, all right, sure, deal with that. If you're angry about the current the current state of America when it comes to gun legislation, I'm terribly sorry with this. I'm also terribly sorry. There's nothing we can do.
Yeah.
So on that depressing note, do something you like. Try to get your mind off. Embrace escapism, so you don't have to deal with the reality that the world
Netflix
is on fire.
Yeah. Go to YouTube, Netflix. Just do something. Just don't even think about it.
Well, thanks again for everyone for listening. We will talk to you next week.
See you next week.